Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello and welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. My name is Cody Sizemore. I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, Maria Casillas, and we have a juicy topic to talk to you about today. One that I actually had some recent experience with, and I thought, hey, it'd probably be a good idea to talk about this on the podcast because I'm sure that this has come up for several people within their coaching businesses. But before we jump into that, I do want to do a little bit of, just talking to you a little bit, filling you in on a few things, all that good stuff. So first and foremost, if you have been listening to this show for basically every week forever, we just want to say thank you. You're what we call our every weekers, and we absolutely love and appreciate you guys because you're what keeps this show going. And we hope that you continue to do that. And hey, also, if you don't mind sharing the show, that'd be great too, because we don't pay for ads. We don't, get paid to do this at all. The only way that we can continue to do this is if it keeps reaching the right people. So if you find value out of any of these episodes and you're like, this other person that I know would get a lot of value from this too, and you want to share it with them, that would be awesome. Beyond that, I also want to just fill you guys in on our free Facebook group as well. That is simply called the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits. If you're not joined into that, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Just do it. It takes a couple seconds, and then you get like a ton of value from different updates that we have, different resources that we have, meetups, Q&A sessions, all different types of things, all for free to you. So join that group as well. And with all that being said, Maria, how you feeling today?
Well, I'm really good. Thank you. That caught me off guard because I don't know what you're doing with your life.
I don't.
I think I found it so funny because I feel like I'm doing so much with my life, and I would hate for anyone to think that they aren't doing anything if they're not there. But we do want you there, so I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking, Cody.
Good. So I wanted to talk about this topic, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, but had something happen recently, and it was just a friendly reminder to me that, hey, not every single person I talk to should be someone that I want to work with.
Yeah.
Just because they have a pulse and a checkbook does not mean that they are the best fit for me.
That's right.
And I think that's important to remember, especially when you're first getting started with this whole financial coaching practice. You want to help everyone under the sun because, you have a good heart. You want to see the business grow. You want to see the impact happen. And sometimes we can fall into these situations to where we start working with someone that really is not the best fit for you, like personality wise or whatever it might be. And because of that, you start to not look forward to the work that you're doing here. And it can be really draining. And you can eventually start to resent the whole process and even question, is this something that I actually want to do? And you don't want to get into that place because the people who are a good fit for you really need you, Yeah. So it's really important to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but, last week's episode was kind of all about ebbs and flows. And we talked about how you have to be able to be consistent with certain activities in order for you to then get the results later on. And if you are in a spot where you've taken somebody on as a client and they are just more work than is necessary, they drain you emotionally, chances are you're not going to want to be doing those money-making activities that are going to help you later on. And so it's actually going to cost you money to bring on this person who, if you had just said, I really want to help you, but I'm not able to do that at the moment. Let me see if I can, refer you to someone else. Then you're actually, like I said, costing yourself more money than it would have been worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So I think what I would like to do is just to give you like a real life example of someone who was not the best fit for me and someone that I could have onboarded, but then chose not to.
Okay, cool? Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's important for me to preface this. I work with a ton of different people, ages, married, unmarried, jobs, all that kinds of stuff. I don't really focus on demographics. I more so focus on the psychographics, which really goes into this whole conversation, which is really like the type of person that they are. And that's who I really focus on. And one of my favorite types of people to work with on the demographic side is actually married couples. I love working with married couples, especially if they're not necessarily on the same page with money and it's caused kind of like a rift in their relationship. I really like working with those couples because it's not just the money that we're working on.
Sure.
And it's not just the money that we see the results with, but we also see the marriage really strengthen. And to me, that's very rewarding at the end of the day, right? So that's who I really love working with. However, I had a consultation with a couple who was married, and the best way I can describe the dynamic between the two of them is there was one person in the relationship who had a lower income and more debt, and there was another person in the relationship who had a higher income and much less debt as well.
Okay.
And as I started talking to them, I found that about 7 years ago, that dynamic between the two of them was actually flip-flopped.
Okay.
So
they must keep their finances completely separate?
Completely separate.
Okay.
Yes, completely separate. But it was flip-flopped. So the person who's struggling now was once, 7 years ago, doing very well. And the person who is doing well now, 7 years ago, was really struggling, kind of thing.
Their own ebb and flow.
Yes. Okay. Yep, exactly. Exactly. And, they came to me as a referral through their therapist, actually. And, one of the main reasons as to why they wanted to have the conversation with me was not only to clean up their finances, but also to get on the same page with the finances so that there's not this like resentment or tension that has built and is definitely existing in their relationship now. Okay. So I had a conversation with them, had a consultation with them. We actually split it up into two different calls because, the first one was about figuring out what was really going on and the dynamic between the two of them. And then the other one was really about like, hey, how do we move forward with this to make your finances and your marriage healthy, right? Okay. And, the one who's struggling now, when I say struggling, looking at his personal finances, because they're separated, he has more money going out per month than he has coming in.
So it's a negative cash flow.
Right. Whereas the other person, their personal finances actually had like multiple thousands of dollars coming in more than they had going out, kind of thing. Okay. So it was a very good situation on their end.
Okay.
And the person who was doing well was very frustrated with the person who was struggling, saying things like, well, why can't he help out more? Even things as simple as groceries or, fixing the leaky sink. He can't even, step up to do that. I have to take care of everything. He's doing these things with his spending habits where he goes out with his friends and he's just putting on a credit card and all these different types of things. Right. Now the person who is struggling, he does work full time and his income is okay. It's not great. It's okay. But he's also going to school full time as well on top of that. So 40 hours at work, 40 hours at school. And he's in school to be an engineer. Okay. So in time, his income will improve. Sure. But that's probably like a 3-year thing down the road.
Can I ask what the ages are approximately? Early 30s. Okay.
Early 30s. Thanks. Yep. So that's that situation. And the other person in a relationship, they already are an engineer. So 2 engineers is what we're kind of looking at, right?
Okay.
And as we discussed a lot, we found that the person who was struggling with the relationship, struggling with their finances, was really kind of broken in a lot of ways, financially, mentally, emotionally. And the person who was doing well with their finances was just full of anger, full of resentment, full of frustration. And it was really taking a tear into their marriage. So, I kind of talked through things with them, and I ran down the numbers with each of them, and I gave them 3 different scenarios. I was like, so here's a scenario, or a couple different scenarios rather. I said, here's a scenario for both of you if you were to continue to operate individually, and what this would look like for each of you. And for the person who's making good money, I was like, you could get everything cleaned up very quickly, probably in less than a year, kind of thing. And for the person who is struggling financially, I was like, I don't even see how you can do this. Right? And then I said, well, what if we combine forces and we actually work as a team because we're married and we build our life together? Strange concept, I know. And I ran through those numbers and I was like, well, we can get everything cleaned up for both of you in the sense that we can pay off all your debt. We can get you guys like 20 or 25,000 in the bank in probably about a year and a half. So not that much longer. And when that's in place, all of these feelings of, resentment and anger and frustration and shame and guilt and all these kinds of things won't exist anymore, because there will be more money that each of you will be able to contribute towards your goals in the life that you're wanting to build together, because there's much less money going out on a monthly basis. Does that all make sense?
It does. And I have like little bells ringing off in my head, because I'm wondering, now I don't know the actual situation and where you went from here. So this is me just inserting probably a little prematurely. I would venture to say maybe that wouldn't remove all of the resentment and all of that, because the person who is already angry and resentful, if they take all of their income, which is a positive cash flow, to help get rid of any of the debt from the one who has the negative cash flow, and that person has not done any change to their behavior, I could actually see the resentment going up for that person. But that's neither here nor there. I would like you to continue on. Other than that, yes, everything you said made sense.
I'll respond to that. So that's assuming that there is no work done or improvement on the person's end who's struggling currently.
Correct. Right? Yes.
And that's also assuming that they continue to have the mindset around money and marriage that it's my money, my debt, their debt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
Correct. Yep.
So if those two things were not true moving forward, I don't want to say that the resentment would completely go away. It's possible, but it would definitely lower.
Okay. So when you presented this to them, there was kind of that insinuation that whether it's you, or you mentioned they came from a therapist. So whether it's you that helps work with them on that, or their therapist that helps work with them on that, there is an underlying tone of, we're going to have to change our thinking and feeling rather than just the numbers on that.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Fair.
Exactly. So, I laid out all this out for them. And when I, asked them like what their thoughts were, how they felt about it, the one who was struggling said, I'm totally on board for this, obviously, because I need help. Right.
It's like a bailout.
Right. But he also said, I'm not just on board just to, take advantage of this. I'm also willing to drop down from full-time in school to part-time. And with the time that I was investing into school, I'm happy to go get another job to help raise my income, bring more to the table, so it's not all on my partner, and that I can really help, move this thing along even faster, kind of thing. Okay. And then once it's all cleaned up, I can go back to full-time in school. And obviously once I graduate and I get my job, then my income is going to probably triple at that point. Right?
Okay. Yep.
So they were very open to the idea, and they were also very open with doing something to sacrifice for the greater good. And he even said, like, this isn't something I want to do. I want to be done with school as soon as I can. But if it's something that I need to for the sake of our finances and our marriage, then I'm definitely willing to do that. And I was really
it's
happy
learning how to prioritize for him.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I was really happy to hear that. That was, an awesome kind of step forward. And unfortunately, the other person in the relationship wasn't for it. In their mind, they were like, well, why can't you go to school full-time, work full-time, and get a part-time job? And then just take care of your own stuff. And I'll take care of my stuff. Because I don't want any part of this anymore. Because when I was struggling before, you didn't help me. So why should I help you now? Kind of thing. Right? And we went back and forth with that quite a bit. And I basically laid it out where I was like, and the guy in the relationship, he also agreed. He's like, I can't do that because you're asking me to spend 100 to 110 hours a week on work and school in that kind of situation. And I would exhaust myself. It wouldn't be sustainable kind of thing. And I agree with that. And I basically said, we're at a crossroads here. It's either you guys want to see this change in your finances and you want to see your marriage improve and blossom to new heights, or you don't want to change anything and you want to just keep digging at this the way that it has been and keep having things be frustrating, angering, and essentially tearing you guys apart. The one guy who's struggling said, I'm in. The other one said, I'm out. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, well, if we can't agree on something as simple as this, then I don't think I can help you.
So, like, literally, that was their words, I'm out?
He said, I think we're done here.
Wow. Okay.
And that's exactly my reaction. I literally went, wow, okay. Well, I don't think I can help you then.
Yeah. Sounds like they need a little bit more time with a therapist.
Yeah. And on my end, if I were to basically default to saying okay, fine, if you don't want to do that, it's fine. I can still try and help you guys. And I onboarded them as clients. I just know that dynamic and that stuck in the mud kind of mindset, it wasn't going to be good for me because anything that I would suggest would not happen.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like the one who could afford to pay for your services was the one who was out, done. And so that and also the one who harbored so much resentment.
Right.
So that's like the trifecta of mentally draining you as the coach and not feeling like you're going to actually get any traction. Even if you could make the numbers work, it would be a mess.
Yeah, exactly. So all this to be said, I think that the big takeaway from this is these people they're not bad people. So don't get me wrong with that. They're decent people, but not everyone's for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm just going to throw this out here. I'm not saying that this couple is for you. I am saying that it's possible they are for you, but not now.
Yeah. And I did leave the door open. I told him, I was like, if there's, if you guys talk more about this and in the future you decide that you do want to unify and work as a team and come together to build your life together, my door's open for you.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out.
I figured you did that. That wasn't a statement to you. It was a statement to our audience, just as a chance to remind everybody about those whole stages of change. And that sometimes, one of those individuals was more along the lines of preparation, maybe at least willing to think about this. If nothing else, they were definitely in contemplation. But the other one was very pre-contemplative. I'm not ready to do this right now. And so that is just a phase that oftentimes people will then come out of. And so if this couple comes out of that phase and says that they're both on the page of, hey, I'm ready to prepare and take action, then that might be a different thing. Now, again, that doesn't mean they're for you, because they could still be They could still have personality things that just clash, and, who knows, but just kind of remember that, you guys, as you're listening today, that if somebody comes through, don't just look at personality stuff. Do keep in mind that stage of change. And if it's something that you realize, okay, they'll cycle through that, keep them on your email list, keep them in your inbox, keep talking with them, let them see your stuff, because they very well might come back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, more of the story is pick the right people.
Yes.
To work with.
Your pocketbook will thank you, as will your own mental health.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story.
If you choose the right people too, they'll likely have a good experience with you, which will then lead to more referrals as well.
Right.
Whereas if you pick the wrong person, they might not have the best experience with you, and it could work against you as well.
And I know we're wrapping up, but I will say, because you mentioned the word referral, and I think earlier on you said that they did come from a therapist. So those are listeners today. If this is something that's not a good fit and you have a working relationship with somebody who's referring people to you, make sure that you kind of let them know why this person wasn't a good fit. Because you don't want the referral source to think, oh, well, I'm sending people over there and he or she's just not taking them. Let them know. And then that will help them kind of hone in on the type of referral that they want to send you as well, wasting you a little bit less time.
Yep, absolutely. Alrighty, guys. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast. We'll catch you on the next episode next week.
See you then.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.